Uh, so please join me with the Manglacharan and Guru Pranam mantra. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padahan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Shratau Pangur Mama Manda Mate Katihi Matsarvaswapadam Bojo Radha Namohanam दिव्यागृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमदा श्रीमद्रत्नागदा सिंहासनस्थो श्रीमद्राधा श्रीलगोविन्ददेवो प्रस्थालीभिः सेव्यमानो स्मरामि श्री श्रीमन्रासारसारम्भि वंशिवातस्ततस्थितः कर्षन् वेणुस्वनैर्गोपी गोपीनाथ श्रेयस्तु नः तप्त कांचन गौरांगे राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे राम राम हरे हरे नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति विघ्न विनाश नरसिंहाय नामिने मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयतिं गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदिनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरम् नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Nara Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. नास्तप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भागवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Nigamakалпатарургалитам phalam Shukamukadamritadravya samyutam Vibhata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavakaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankajanabhaya Nama Pankajamaline Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangre. Hare Krishna. So Hare Krishna everyone. Welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam session. This is chapter 7. Hare Krishna Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances to everyone. So this is chapter 7, son of Drona punished. And this is part 4. Hopefully we will finish the chapter today. We should be able to. And before we jump in, we will just do a quick recap what we did previously about this chapter. So this chapter started with history of Srimad Bhagavatam, how they conclude about the Srimad Bhagavatam. We discussed about the vision of Vyasadeva. So basically, how Srimad Bhagavatam came to be. So we discussed this several times already. And then in this chapter, after hearing the message of Narada Muni, Vyasadeva sat down by the river Saraswati in Samya Prayash, near Badrik Ashram, near the Himalayas there. And then he meditated. Immediately the Lord appeared in his heart. Together with the Lord, the energies of the Lord, the spiritual and the material energies of the Lord also appeared together with him. And in his vision, he also saw all the living entities who were embroiled in this ocean of material misery. So, and as he saw the living entities going through different births and cycles of birth and death, going through difficulties and happiness and distress, and in this way, he saw also the solution for these living entities. And the solution is to constantly hear the pastimes and recite the names of the Lord. So the names, pastimes, the guna, rupa, leela, nama, all of these about the Lord, simply by hearing about this again and again, then they will be saved. And therefore, in order to facilitate this hearing about the pastimes of the form, name, the qualities and the pastimes, therefore, he began to imagine how to write the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is the greatest work of Srila Vyasadeva. So he begins to write Srimad Bhagavatam. And then we heard how he after writing the Srimad Bhagavatam, he narrated that Bhagavatam to his son, Srila Sukadev Goswami, who was already liberated, even liberated person, but when Srimad Bhagavatam is given to that person, to Sukadev Goswami, he immediately became attached to Srimad Bhagavatam. So even a liberated person, an Atma Rama, who is already full of enjoyment in his own presence, right? An Atma Rama person means he finds enjoyment within himself. He doesn't need anything else. He is already liberated. To such a person also, nothing else would be attractive to him because he's already liberated. But yet, to such a person, Srimad Bhagavatam became very attractive to him. So that is the special power of Srimad Bhagavatam. It can attract even the liberated persons. The liberated persons who have no interest in anything material, anything else, nothing else. They only know Brahman. But even more attractive than Brahman was this Srimad Bhagavatam. So that was the speciality. So after that, the history of the Bhagavatam was closed, finished. And then Sutta Goswami begins to narrate about the pastimes of the Lord, because the sages in Naimisharanya asked about it. This is one of their questions. Please tell us more about the pastimes of the Lord. At the same time, the sages also wanted to know more about the speaker and the person who listened to the Bhagavatam after Sukadev Goswami narrated it. So, you know, the pastime where Sukadev Goswami spoke the Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. So they wanted to know more about Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadev Goswami. So we heard a little bit about Sukadev Goswami in these chapters earlier before, but Parikshit Maharaj we are going to hear soon. So, and they also wanted to know, how did this meeting between these two personalities come about? They are very different personalities. Sukadev Goswami is a renounced person, completely liberated. He doesn't even wear clothes. So liberated that he's so renounced. Whereas Parikshit Maharaj is the king of the world, right? He's an entirely Worlds apart they were. Yet how did it come about that Parikshit Maharaj heard the Srimad Bhagavatam? And then they also heard Parikshit Maharaj was going to die. So how did this situation happen? So all of these questions are to be answered now by Sutta Goswami. He is going to tell that particular pastime of Krishna, which is connected to the birth of Parikshit Maharaj. So we heard previously in the previous chapter, previous session, how the setting up of the scene in which Parikshit was to be born. So how it began? It began with Balahatya Drauni, the son of Dronacharya. Drauni means the son of Dronacharya. Who is that? Ashwatthama. How Ashwatthama killed all the people assembled in the camp, the sleeping soldiers. He killed all of them in the middle of the night while they were all sleeping because he wanted revenge. He wanted revenge because the Pandavas killed Dronacharya. Not the Pandavas, it was Drishta who killed, but basically he was unhappy. And he also wanted to please Duryodhana, who was dying after his thighs were broken by Bhima. And therefore he came in the middle of the night together with Kripacharya and one more person, forgot his name. So they came, and then he had the power of Lord Shiva. He is one of the incarnations of Lord Shiva in the form of Rudra. You know, there are 11 Rudras who are incarnations of Lord Shiva, who are in charge of destruction, different types of destruction within this material universe. So one of the incarnations of this Rudra is Ashwatthama. So anyway, there was a boon he got from Shiva, and that he will not be defeated during that one night. So, but still he went when everybody was sleeping. He killed all the people, including Drishtadyumna, but he wasn't satisfied. He killed also, he thought he saw Pandavas sleeping. Rather than wake them up and challenge them to a fair fight, he decided to kill them while they were sleeping, to cut off their heads. So after he cut off the heads, he took their heads with them and he went to see Duryodhana. And he thought he can present the heads of the Pandavas and Duryodhana will be very happy with him, at least, you know. So, but when he saw the heads, finally when he showed the heads to Duryodhana, they were both shocked because it wasn't the heads of the Pandavas, it was the heads of the Upa Pandavas, the children of the Pandavas. So together with Draupadi, each of the Pandavas had one son. So one son was born for each Pandava with Draupadi. So all these 5 Pandavas, they were still children. They were not grown fully yet. And they were killed. So when Duryodhana saw this, he became very upset. What is this? You went and killed children? You are supposed to kill the Pandavas. I don't care about children being killed. Now you have not only done something terribly wrong, you have embarrassed me and you have destroyed whatever good qualities that is left. Little happiness I can get also, it's gone. Because the entire Kuru dynasty is now going to perish. There are no more children left in the Kuru dynasty. So in this way, lamenting miserably, Duryodhana left the body. He died. And Ashwatthama was very upset. So, but anyway, what happened? Back in the Pandavas camp, they woke up. You can imagine Draupadi's shock when she heard the news and when she saw the situation, the scene. So she was inconsolable. He was crying, and then Arjuna, he was known as Kapidwaja. Kapidwaja means the one who bears the flag of Hanuman. Kapi means monkey. Dwaja means the flag. So anyway, Kapidwaja or Arjuna, he tried to pacify Draupadi and gave a promise to Draupadi: I will kill Dronacharya's son, and you will stand on his head, and you will become, in that way you will be satisfied. So then Arjuna in pursuit, but together with Arjuna, Achyuta, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he also comes with Arjuna because they are friends. and they are very close. So therefore, Krishna decided to also come and support. So both they armed themselves with weapons, and Krishna would take the chariot, and Arjuna will sit on it, and they were chasing and chasing and chasing, and finally they caught up with Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama, when he saw Arjuna coming towards him at full speed, bearing terrible weapons, he was very scared. He started to run away. He knows he cannot defeat Arjuna. Arjuna is a better warrior than him, and the power that Lord Shiva gave him that night is already gone. So he ran out of fear, but then he was going to be overtaken because the charioteer is Krishna, none other. So therefore, when he saw that he was going to be caught, out of fear, desperate, he didn't care what happened to the world. He released the Brahmastra weapon. So the most powerful variety of the Brahmastra. Brahmastra got several variety. The most powerful variety is Brahma Sirsha. So he released that weapon. That weapon, it can destroy the entire universe. It has that kind of capability. But the thing is, so he doesn't know how to control it. He only knows how to release it. So in weapons, you need to release it, you need to control it, and you need to be able to cancel it or retract it back. So Ashwatthama only knew how to release. He only knows how to press the launch button. He doesn't know how to control it, how to set it to the... So when he did it, Arjuna saw a terrible burning effulgence, glare, teja, very scary, ugra teja, fearsome glare which is coming, and it's the effulgence is described to be growing towards the entire universe. So when he saw this, he has never seen anything like this before, because he knows Brahma, he has Brahmastra, but he has always controlled the Brahmastra. Responsible people, you see, this Brahmastra is given to responsible people who are qualified. So few people only were having Brahmastra. The Arjuna, who else? Bhima, in the other side, Bhishma, Dronacharya, Karna. So they had the knowledge of Brahmastra, and they were more or less responsible, right? They're very responsible, even Karna. and Dronacharya, because his big problem, Dronacharya, is he has a weakness for his own child, for his own son. Something like Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra also has weakness for his son, Duryodhana. In the same way, Dronacharya had a very soft spot for his son, Ashwatthama. So even though he knew Ashwatthama didn't deserve to get this weapon, but Ashwatthama had always wanted to please his father. Ashwatthama always wanted to get the blessings of Dronacharya. So he tried very much. But the best student was always Arjuna. So Ashwatthama was always not the best student. And he was not very happy about that. He wasn't angry terribly. He was still friends with Arjuna. But in his heart, he wasn't happy that he wasn't the best student, because he only wanted to please his father. But Dronacharya knew this, and then in a moment of weakness, just to please his son, to reciprocate with the familial feeling, he thought that if I give him this Brahmastra knowledge, then he'll become very happy. So he gave the Brahmastra knowledge, how to invoke the Brahmastra, even though he knew that he wasn't ready to accept. So anyway, when the Brahmastra was released, Arjuna saw the blazing effulgence, and he became very afraid. He said, I've never seen anything like this. What is happening? The entire universe seems to be in the brink of destruction. And then, just like how we saw the contrast between Ashwatthama, when Ashwatthama became very scared of his life, what did he do? And when Arjuna became scared of his life, what did he do? So when Ashwatthama became scared, he decided to release a weapon which will destroy the entire universe. He didn't care what will happen. I don't care. I'm upset. My life, it's either me or everything will die with me. So that was his plan. Whereas Arjuna, when he became afraid, when such a blazing thing was coming, his approach was to immediately take shelter of Krishna. So that is the difference between devotee and demon. or a non-devotee. So we saw that, we described all this nicely earlier, right? So Arjuna immediately offered prayers. So we heard about Arjuna's prarthana in detail previous sessions, so we won't talk about that. And then after praying to Krishna, glorifying Krishna, he asked Krishna, "What is this? Please tell me what is this. Please save me. Please take away this fear." Krishna Krishna Mahabaho, O mighty armed one, O Krishna, Krishna Krishna Mahabaho, Bhaktanam Abhayankara. Remove the abhaya, remove the bhaya of your devotees. You are one who removes the fear of your devotees. So please remove this fear in me and protect me. And so in this way, Arjuna prays. And Krishna answers, he provides a solution. He tells Arjuna, this is Brahma Sirsha, Brahmastra, which is uncontrolled. So it is now coming and trying to destroy everything. So what you need to do, you have your own Brahmastra. So you need to shoot your Brahmastra on that Brahmastra. And when they combine, at that time, you can, when you call back your Brahmastra, that Brahmastra will also come together with it. So in this way, you can save the universe from danger. So Arjuna immediately, he goes around. Before he starts doing anything, what does a devotee do? Before they embark on any important thing, they will first offer prayers to, or they will first respect the Supreme Lord. So Arjuna immediately went around. He circumambulated Krishna, touched water for Achaman, and then recited the mantra which will invoke the Brahmastra. And in this way, he released it and he combined with the other Brahmastra, and the effulgence. After that, as Krishna instructed, he pulled back the effulgence and neutralized it. And after doing this, Ashwatthama was helpless, and we heard how Arjuna went and caught him. He didn't kill him. He caught him and he bound him with ropes. And we heard also how Krishna was chastising Arjuna, because Krishna was wanting to put Arjuna into a test. He wanted to showcase Arjuna's saintly qualities. So even though this person killed the son of Arjuna and did so many things, but when the situation came for him to kill, he didn't kill. So instead, he captured him and brought him for justice. So this is the nature of saintly people. They don't like to kill straight away. Even though he had all the justifications on his side to kill, Krishna was egging him on. He said, no, you have your right, though he is a Brahmana born, but because he behaved in such a terrible way, coming in the middle of the night, creeping in the middle of the night like an assassin, and then killing people while they were sleeping, cutting off the heads of children, and running away, and now trying to destroy the universe with the Brahmastra. So he has behaved like a very extremely fallen person, no longer fit to be even called by Brahmana name. So you should not give him that Brahmana status, because Brahmana shouldn't be killed. That is the injunction. So you should just kill him. But Arjuna, even though he was incited in this way, still he was loath to kill, because he still had gratitude in his heart. He still remembered Dronacharya, his father. He still remembered the friendship that Ashwatthama had with him. He still, though he was angry, and he was reluctant. So he caught him and brought him to face justice. Just like, we don't take justice in our own hands. What happens? We go to the police, right? Or we go to the courts. The king is the one who will give out justice. So our job is to, basically, Arjuna as a Kshatriya, he apprehends people who are criminals, and then the king is the one who will punish. So in this way, Arjuna showed that he was saintly quality. He had saintly quality. Therefore, he was called Mahant, great person. Just like in Battle of Kurukshetra also, before the Battle of Kurukshetra started, Arjuna wanted to, he was not happy to kill. one can say, hey, look, they did this to you, they did so many things. They gave you poison, they tried to burn your house, they tried to kidnap your wife, they tried to embarrass her in public and strip her naked, they stole your money, they stole your kingdom, they cheated you of your land, they told you, they promised you after 13 years you can come back, but they broke their promise while you kept yours. And then, so many things they did. So still, Arjuna said, never mind, Krishna, all this, let them do all this. They are my family. Even though they are like this, what can I do? How can I fight and kill such people? So this was the saintly quality of Arjuna. Never eager to defend his own rights for his own sake. Always saintly quality comes out first. Okay, so that was what was covered. So now, after catching after catching Ashwatthama and tying him up with ropes like an animal, and then they dragged him and brought him. So this is the verse 1.7.41. After reaching his own camp, Arjuna, along with his Govinda Priya Sarathi, so along with his dearmost friend and charioteer, Priya Sarathi. Sarathi means charioteer. Priya means very, very dear charioteer. So this is the beautiful relationship between God and the Jiva. So always, whenever Krishna comes in the material world, he comes with Arjuna. So just to show us the relationship between master and servant. So who is the master and who is the servant? So in the material world, we always want to be master. But Krishna is telling, look, become servant. It's even more glorious than master. Look, who is though I am the master, Krishna is saying, but Arjuna is the servant, but see how beautifully the relationship is. Right? The master, Krishna, is serving Arjuna in such a loving relationship. Just like how a child will sit on the shoulder of the father, and then the father may be the greatest person, the greatest king or whatever it is. The father is obviously the master, right, to the child. But the relationship is so sweet that the child said, "Father, get down on your knees now. I want to go on your shoulder. I want to ride you on your back." And then the father immediately gets down on the knees. And then the child will sit on top of the father's shoulder, and then he will kick the shoulder and say, go right, go left, go faster. So in this way, the father will move with the hands and knees. So this is the beautiful relationship between the Supreme Father and all the Jiva. So in that way, he is advertising, he's telling all the living entities, come back to me, to the spiritual world. So Priya Sarathi, and he is Govinda, the one who enlivens the senses. So if we are always hankering after sense gratification, but we are looking for it in the wrong place. We are searching for happiness in the wrong place. Whereas Govinda is the source. He is the one who enlivens all the senses. So therefore, he is the one that will give us the ultimate ananda. So anyway, after reaching the camp, Arjuna, along with Krishna, Govinda, they entrusted the murderer unto his dear wife, who was lamenting for her murdered sons. And Sri Sutta Goswami is recounting the story, what took place. He's saying, Draupadi then saw Ashwatthama, who was bound with ropes like an animal and silent for having enacted the most inglorious murder. So Ashwatthama was very embarrassed, and he was already caught. He was chastised. He was caught, for a person who's like a Kshatriya fighter, to be caught and bound in ropes and thrown in front of a lady, for him it's very terrible. So he was abashed, very ashamed. He was and whatever tejas or effulgence that he had is all gone. So he was in a very defeated looking situation. And looking at this bound, defeated person who once used to be their friend, who is the son of their dearmost guru, Dronacharya, even though Draupadi suffered such terrible situation, her children, her 5 children, killed in such a way that their heads were cut off and they couldn't even find the heads because the heads were taken away by Ashwatthama. So, but this lady, when she saw Ashwatthama in this situation, it wasn't vengeance that was in her mind. It wasn't, oh, yes, this is the way he should be. Yes, now I've seen, I've brought you down. She didn't start to insult him or, cry for his blood or whatever. So this is another quality. This is again, just now we heard about Arjuna's qualities, Arjuna's saintly qualities. So we also now will hear about Draupadi's qualities. So due to her female nature, Vama Swabhava Kripaya, she showed him due respects as a Brahmana. So instead of becoming upset and angry and getting vengeance in her blood, she saw this defeated person. She only saw Brahmana. Oh my God, what have you done to this Brahmana? And not only any Brahmana, he is the son of our Guru, Dronacharya. And being a Brahmana, he is also Guru. How can you do this? This is how she was thinking. So, can you imagine the character of such a person who can think like this, even in the midst of such extreme personal pain caused by that very person? So that is saintliness, right? So Krishna is purposely doing all this just to showcase how wonderful these Pandavas were, how wonderful the devotees of the Lord are, the qualities of the devotees of the Lord. They are never bothered about their own pain or their own ingloriousness. We know how Vasudev Datta in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in Chaitanya Leela, Vasudev Datta told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if only I can take the sins of all the people in this world and take it upon myself, I will feel my life has have some worth in this world. So this is how Vasudev Datta was talking. And he really meant it. It wasn't simply just lip service, right? And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this, he shed tears and he immediately embraced Vasudev Datta and said, you have that magnanimity of thousands of Brahmanas. You are just like Prahlad Maharaj. And he was so pleased with Vasudev Datta. Right? And also, we know the pastime of Srinivas Acharya. There were some Brahmanas who were very envious of Srinivas Acharya. So they wanted to pull him down. They wanted to smirch his reputation. They didn't like that he was famous and known as a great Brahmana. So what they did, at night, they went and put all the articles of black magic in the front of his house. They took a chicken with a head cut with blood on it, and then they put some certain other paraphernalia, certain flowers which are used for black magic, tantra. All this they put in the front doorstep. And then they left. And then in the next morning, they called all the people in the village so that they could come and see. See, look at this so-called Brahmana. He is just acting only, but see what he's doing in the middle of the night. He's resorting to sinful tantric black magic. He's nothing but a black magician, not a Brahmana. So they wanted to embarrass him like this. But when Srinivas Acharya saw, he opened the door and he saw all this, and you won't believe, he just opened his eyes and he just opened his mouth and said, yes, finally you are right, you have caught me. Yes, this is correct. I am this. Now you have exposed me. Yes, he just accepted it. Though of course we all know that Srinivas Acharya is not anything like this, but he didn't want the name, fame, and glory. Now you see, now you know that I am not a real Brahmana. See, you shouldn't respect me. So he was happy that people don't give him name, fame, glory. And then, of course, we know about Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, how people were all seeking his blessings. They were coming all over to seek his blessings because he was a great sadhu. But what he would do, he would go and sit in a toilet. He will find a toilet somewhere and then he will sit and do his bhajan. And the smell of the toilet it will keep away all these great, great people who want to take a darshan of this Babaji Maharaj. So this is the humility, this is the selflessness, the spotless character. So here, uh, uh, Draupadi is described as Vama Swabhava Kripaya. She had a very beautiful nature. Now, this is a feminine nature, a feminine trait. You could say that it is, I mean, the way they translate it is Vama means very kind and very mild, mild like milk, very mild and very gentle nature. Swa means beautiful, and Bhava means nature. Kripaya, compassionate. So a very mild, gentle nature she had, which this kind of vengeful feeling or this kind of I tit for a tat, an eye for an eye, that kind of thinking all will not enter into her. And when she sees Brahmana being caught like this, she only saw him as a Brahmana and she offered him due respects as a Brahmana. Right? So she could not tolerate. The word asahanti is used. Asahanti means cannot tolerate. She could not genuinely, she could not tolerate in her heart. This is so much the culture, the Vaishnava etiquette, the etiquette of the spiritual world is so steeped into their blood that it's part of them. So she could not tolerate Ashwatthama being bound by ropes. And being a devoted lady, Sati, the word Sati means very chaste and very devoted. So there are a few examples of Sati in this in history, and Draupadi is one of them. Like that, Sita Devi. So these are all examples of Sati. So being a devoted lady, she said immediately, Muchyatam, Muchyatam, release him, for he is a Brahmana, our Guru. So this is, they are Kshatriyas. So Kshatriyas view all Brahmanas as Guru. So this is Dharma. This is how Dharma is upheld. And the Pandavas were always following Dharma. It was in their blood. And Prabhupada gives a comment. So according to revealed scriptures, a teacher or spiritual master is liable to be rejected if he proves himself unworthy of the position of a guru or spiritual master. So actually, Ashwatthama, he is not a Brahmana anymore. The actual situation is he completely lost his position as a Brahmana because he performed such heinous activity. What is a Brahmana known? A Brahmana is known by, how do we detect a Brahmana? Krishna tells in the Bhagavad Gita, isn't it? Karma, guna karma vibhagaha. Guna means by his nature. What kind of nature a Brahmana has? Clean, tolerant, peaceful, gentle, knowledgeable, right? So detached. So these kind of qualities, merciful, these are the qualities of a Brahmana. And by his activity, guna, karma. What is karma? Karma is his activity. What kind of activity he does? So what kind of activity did Ashwatthama do? He killed children, Balahatya. So he did cowardly activities, coming in the middle of the night. So not worthy. So therefore he's lost his Brahmanical quality. But again, that's why Prabhupada say, that's why the word here is used. You can see female nature. So this is the thing about ladies. So generally, ladies, the intelligence of men and lady, there is a difference. Because, ladies' intelligence is very much connected to their feelings, their emotion. So they don't all the time, they cannot separate the feeling and the emotion and the intelligence. It's merged together. The feeling and the emotion and the intelligence is merged. It's not that the intelligence is less, it's the same actually as men, right? It's just that the problem is that it's merged together with the emotion. So they are always emotional. So they allow their emotion. It's difficult for them to separate the emotion from the cold logic. So her natural tendency, her beautiful nature of being mild and gentle, she wasn't at that time, she can't, separate the, okay, he's no longer Brahmana, he did like this. Her overpowering beautiful nature eclipsed her logical mind. So, but that nature is praised as beautiful, because for a lady that is a beautiful nature. That is very attractive in ladies. That very nature of that, you know, uh, emotional, which is very attractive. So anyway, so she couldn't tolerate, and she said, "Muchati, Muchati, leave." But Prabhupada is telling, but this is to be rejected. This Ashwatthama is not no longer a guru. He is no longer a spiritual master. He's unworthy, right? So Prabhupada continues, but to a good lady like Draupadi, the matter was considered not from the angle of Shastric vision. So this is the problem, right? So uh, sometimes they allow their emotions to cloud their Shastric vision. So, but as a matter of custom, so she was seeing it as a matter of custom. By custom, Ashwatthama was offered the same respect as offered to his father. Because generally, the custom is if your father is a Brahmana, then the family is also respected as a Brahmana. Even though the family may not be qualified as a Brahmana. But the father is a Brahmana, so the sons and the children and all, they are respected like a Brahminical family. That is custom. But factually, that is not the case. According to Shastra, that is not the case. But this is the culture of the family at that time. Because anyway, this is during Dwapara Yuga, where it is no longer Satya Yuga. In Satya Yuga, the culture was preserved perfectly. But in Dwapara Yuga, already there is degradation of society. It's not as bad as Kali, but still, you can see how the Mahabharata, what took place and everything. So generally people accept the son of a Brahmana. So this kind of caste, this kind of birth identification of the caste, it was already started during the Dwapara Yuga. And in Kali Yuga, it became very bad. So, but it's a sentiment only. Factually, the matter is different. So Prabhupada says, a devotee of the Lord can tolerate all sorts of tribulation personally. See, this is what I was telling, the examples I was giving you about Vasudev Datta, about Srinivas Acharya. And this was also shown by Arjuna. This was also shown by Draupadi. So this is the nature. So we have to develop that quality in us. What kind of quality? The quality of mercy, the quality of forgiveness, the quality of not expecting any respect for one's own self. To be more tolerant than a tree, not a joke, more tolerant. They didn't say more tolerant than you or more tolerant than me. They said no, more tolerant than a tree. So it's not a joke. So therefore, it is here it says a devotee of the Lord can tolerate all sorts of tribulation personally. But still, such devotees are never unkind to others, even to the enemy. So that's why a devotee of the Lord is given full protection by the Lord. That's why that's the nature Prahlad had. And because Prahlad had that nature, he never once thought negatively about his father. Because Prahlad had that nature, the Lord steps in to give all protection for the devotee. So this is surrender. What there are 6 limbs of surrender. The 6 limbs of surrender, one of the limbs of surrender is you have complete faith that everything that happens in your life in our lives is by the plan of Krishna, and Krishna has a wonderful plan behind it. Everything that happens, the bad, the good, whatever, everything is simply controlled by Krishna's plan. And therefore, that is the secret of becoming fearless. Because you know Krishna's plan, Krishna is who? Krishna is God. Krishna, and he means the best for you. He means the best for us. So if we can have that kind of surrender, there's a story. There's a story in this regard about surrender. So it's said that once there was in an aeroplane, one small girl was also in the aeroplane. She was in a business class seat, sitting alone. And but while the aeroplane was in flying, they had turbulence. So there was rain, there was terrible weather, and the aeroplane was shaking and shaking, and suddenly it was like dropping, and everybody was scared. They were like, a lot of people were praying. Some of them were reciting prayers. Some of them were screaming. Some of them were hugging each other. But this girl, she was just reading a book. And she was reading a book throughout the journey. And when this turbulence happened, she would just looked around mildly, and then she shrugged her shoulders and continued reading the book. But after some time, the turbulence ceased, and the aeroplane again managed to attain stability, and everybody became calm again. And the girl was also continuously reading the book. And then later, the person sitting next to the girl, he was very intrigued by this girl. What is this? We just saw something terrible happen, and this girl was as cool as a cucumber. And then he said, I must ask her, hey girl, how is it that just now when the turbulence happened, you were not disturbed? And then she said, why should I be disturbed? The girl said, I know nothing will happen. And then I know everything will be completely fine. And then the man said, well, how could you know that? And then the girl said, well, the pilot is my father, you see. So, my father, he'll protect me. Nothing will happen. So that was the surrender that the girl had for the father. So in the same way, we should have that kind of surrender to the Supreme Father, the Supreme Lord. If we are chanting his name, if we are taking up devotional service, if we are trying our best to be his devotee, in whatever situation we are, we may not be the best of the best or whatever it is, but whatever situation we have, we are trying, right? So if we are trying sincerely, right, so definitely whatever that comes our way, as I mentioned previously, we are no longer in Maya Devi's office. Our file, our karma file is not in Maya Devi's office anymore. The moment we chant his names sincerely daily, the file is shifted from Maya Devi's office and put in Krishna's office. So Krishna is looking at the file now. He's overlooking the file. So whatever comes our way, it is by the grace of Krishna. It is not by karma. And a devotee will learn to surrender to the will of Krishna. Whatever pleases you, let that happen. And that is the understanding. So these are the characteristics of one who is a pure devotee of the Lord. So we have the standards we should work towards, right? Important for us to know the standards. We can never approach the same standard, but we should try. And in our trying, that is the glory of it. Krishna sees that trying. So it was by Dronacharya's, and then Draupadi continues. She continues telling, it was by Dronacharya's anugrahat, by the mercy of Dronacharya, that you learned anugraha, the word anugraha, gift or mercy. By the mercy of Dronacharya, that you learn the sarahasya, the secrets, rahasya, the sarahasya, Dhanurveda. Dhanurveda means the art of weaponry. It is by the grace of Dronacharya that you learn the art of the bow. Dhanur especially means bow. The art of manipulating bow and arrow, and the confidential art of releasing and controlling ashtragrama, all kinds of weapons, both mystical weapons as well as ordinary weapons. How to control, how to learn, how to release. So, indirectly she's saying you were able to control the Brahmastra by Dronacharya's mercy. He was the one who taught you. She's reminding him. And then she says, oops, I'll just mute you, Prabhu. Okay. So then she continues, certainly Bhagavan Drona. So this is how she glorifies a guru, Dronacharya, Bhagavan, one who is opulent, right? Drona is still existing, being represented by Praja Rupena. Praja means the son or the children. So the form of the child, the son represents the father. So in this form of the son, Dronacharya's son, you can see Dronacharya is still living in the form of his son. So his wife, Kripi is the wife of Dronacharya. When Dronacharya died, Kripi did not enter Sati. Sati is the ceremony where the wife enters into the funeral fire together with the slain husband. And then together she burns and she dies, and in this way they attain heaven together. So that is Sati. It was a ceremony which was done in the previous ages, but in Kali Yuga, Sati was forbidden. Few things are forbidden in Kali Yuga. One of them is Sati. So anyway, Kripi did not undergo Sati. So there is an exception for Sati. But why would ladies do it? It was not forced. It is said that the separation from the husband felt by the wife was so painful that she would not feel the pain of the fire. She would welcome the pain of the fire. It's nothing compared to the pain that she's undergoing from separation of her husband. So that's why she would voluntarily go into Sati, because it's dharma and because it's all good. So nobody had to be forced. But anyway, she didn't enter Sati because she had a son. So that is injunction. If you have a child you are responsible for, then you cannot commit Sati. So Kripi did not undergo Sati. She is still living. The wife of Dronacharya is living, and she sacrificed her Sati to take care of her son. And if you kill that son, what will happen to Kripi? So she is emoting, she's empathizing. So Draupadi is saying, or Prabhupada is saying here, a widow is a widow only in name if there is a son of her husband existing. So if there is a son, a widow is just in name only. The pain of the widowhood is not so bad. It's not really considered like a widow if there is a son. So in either case, Ashwatthama was the representative of Dronacharya, and therefore killing Ashwatthama would be like killing Dronacharya. So already they killed Dronacharya. Dronacharya was killed in the battlefield because Dronacharya took the stance of a Kshatriya. So he stood as Kshatriya, so therefore he had to be killed as a Kshatriya. But now Ashwatthama is bound hand and foot. So we cannot just cold-bloodedly kill him. So, O Dharmaraja, O Dharmajna, Nya means knowledge, Dharma means dharmic principles, religious principles. O you who knows the principles of Dharmajna, she's telling Arjuna, O you who know the principles of religion, O Mahabhaga, O most fortunate one. Why most fortunate? Because Govinda is his Priya Sarathi, right? O most fortunate one, it is not good for you to cause grief to glorious family members. So Dronacharya's family is going to go to grief. These glorious family members who are always respectable and worshipable. So these are Brahmanas, gurus. So Prabhupada says, he comments, yes, a slight insult. So we are learning a lot of etiquette, a lot of dharma here as well. So a slight insult for a respectable family is sufficient to invoke grief. Therefore, a cultured man or woman should always be careful in dealing with worshipful family members. So seniors, adults. So therefore, the culture of worshipping the seniors, the elders of the family is very much present, right? In Hinduism, particularly. So we touch their feet, so things like that. So at least this culture was very much there, because at that time elders were also, so Brahmanas, these are Brahminical culture. So then Draupadi continues, "My lord," she's addressing Arjuna, "do not make the wife of Dronacharya cry like me." So you see, this is the thought of Dronacharya. This is the thought of Draupadi. Draupadi is, she's saying, I am crying. She is not thinking that you also should cry. You did this to me. You must cry 10 times more than me. This is not how she was thinking. So this is how many people would think. Little bit somebody, somebody gives us puts prasadam on our plate in the wrong way, we become very upset. Oh, this person, is like this. So, but anyway, that happens. But here, Draupadi is very, very merciful. Just give me a second. I need to plug the battery to my computer. Give me a second. Okay, sorry for that. So, my lord, do not make the wife of Dronacharya cry like me. So, saintly nature of Draupadi, just like Arjuna, is seen over here. I am aggrieved for the death of my sons. She need not cry constantly like. So she's very close to Kripi also. They were all living in a family together. So before this Mahabharata war started. And then Draupadi continues. If the Rajanye means the kingly administrative order. If the kingly, the Kshatriyas, if the Kshatriya order, the kingly order, being unrestricted in sense control, offends the Brahmakulam. Brahmakula means the Brahminical order. If the Kshatriyas offend the Brahmanas because of unrestricted sense control, and if we enrage the Brahmanas, then the fire of that rage burns up the whole body of the royal family and brings grief upon them all. So this is Varnashram culture. The Brahmanas are always glorified. It's the topmost of the society, and this is the Brahmana is like the head of society. They guide humanity towards transcendence, towards higher ideals, towards ideals which goes beyond the cycle of birth and death, towards liberation. So the Brahmanas are always cherished. They were always respected. So even the kings, they will take the advice of the Brahmanas. They will never disrespect a Brahmana. So that is how Brahminical culture is always upheld in a Vedic society. So, but if they go against, if sometimes Kshatriyas, they may become proud, they may become intoxicated, they may become intoxicated with sense gratification or fame. When they make this mistake, then they are in deep trouble. Just like Indra, when Indra, he once Brihaspati, his guru, gave Indra a garland. Sometimes the Guru Maharaj will come and then they'll give a garland to you. And then Indra also accepted the garland. But Indra was at the height of his power. He had conquered all the demons. He was feeling very confident with himself. Of course, he was respectful. He knows what's good for him. So he was respectful of Brihaspati. But in somehow he was already very well dressed or whatever. He wore the garland. Then he took the garland and then he threw it on Airavata, his elephant. He has an elephant. The name of the elephant is Airavata. So he threw the garland on the elephant's head. But elephant is being elephant. So he saw some garland drop on his head. He just used his trunk and pulled the garland down, and the garland tore, and it dropped on, all the flowers dropped on the floor, and Airavata stepped on it and went off. Now Brihaspati saw this. So he thought, my disciple has become very, very proud. I give a garland to him, and this is how he treats the garland. So then immediately Brihaspati disappeared. He made his body invisible and he completely disappeared. So for a long time, Indra wasn't bothered. He was happy, enjoying, partying. And then when the demons started becoming powerful again, and then he wanted some advice, he said he invoked Brihaspati, but Brihaspati didn't come. So then he became in trouble. Then he lost everything. He lost his, he was in serious trouble after that. So anyway, the point here is the Brahmana has to be respected carefully. So one should not break that principle. So then it will only bring ill fortune to the family that does that, to the person that does that. It is capable of destroying the entire family. That's why the greatest sin is Brahmahatya. Brahmahatya means to kill a Brahmana. That is the greatest sin. Of course, nowadays is different. We are talking about real Brahmanas. But still, Draupadi considered Ashwatthama in the same category because of her beautiful female nature. So then she continues. Then Sutta Goswami, he is recounting the narration. He tells, "Oh Dvija," he's telling the assembly, the people in the assembly. All the people in the assembly are who? They are all Brahmanas. So therefore, this is a story about Brahmana. So Sutta Goswami is addressing, oh, all you Brahmanas, oh Dvija. Dvija means twice born. It means Brahmana. Oh Dvijas, the Raja Dharma Sutta, this is referring to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Who is Yudhishthira Maharaj? Yudhishthira Maharaj is the king now, Raja. And he is Dharma Sutta. Sutta means the son of Dharmaraj. He is Dharmaraja's son. So the king who is Dharmaraja's son, King Yudhishthira, so it's significant that Sutta Goswami uses the word Dharma Sutta. So to indicate that the king is now representing Dharma itself. So Sutta Goswami is saying, Yudhishthira Maharaj, Dharma itself personified, fully supported the statements of the queen. So that is interesting to hear. Why? Okay, so fully supported the statements of the queen, which he considered to be, and this is also agreed by Sutta Goswami, which were dharmya. Dharmya means in accordance to the principles of religion. Now, when we talk about religious understanding, there are different levels of understanding. There is the lower level of understanding, which is basically the Varnashram understanding. Every Varna will have their own dharma. Kshatriyas will have their own duties. Brahmanas will have their own duties. And so all this is considered at the Varnashram level, which is known as Niti Shastra or Artha Shastra. So that is one level. So in that level, yes, if somebody kills you, you have the right to kill that person. If somebody steals from you, you have the right to kill that person. So there are certain rules set out. That is Niti Shastra. So in that sense, yes, Kshatriyas have a right. So there was nothing, according to Niti Shastra, Arjuna and Draupadi have every right to kill Ashwatthama. But there is something higher than Niti Shastra. So as I said, there are different levels of dharma. So there is a higher dharma. That is called, what do you call, what's the name? So Niti Shastra, and then is Dharma Shastra. So the higher Shastra is Dharma Shastra. So the Dharma Shastras, they talk about ahimsa. It doesn't matter. They talk about tolerance. They talk about ahimsa. They talk about non-violence. So that is higher compared to the Niti Shastra, which is lower. So in this way, and then higher than that is also Swadharma. That means transcendental knowledge. That is even higher, knowledge about the soul. So in the battle of Kurukshetra, Arjuna will talk about Dharma Shastras. He will say, I shouldn't follow this Niti Shastra. What for? We talk about Kshatriya, yes, I should kill and everything, but these are my family members. I cannot kill them. So he is quoting Dharma Shastra. Yes, I shouldn't kill. But higher than Dharma Shastra is spiritual, transcendental Shastra. So according to that, you must do whatever pleases Krishna. That is the ultimate truth, right? Devotional service is higher. Transcendental knowledge is higher than Dharma Shastra. So therefore, Krishna is able to defeat Arjuna. He says, yeah, but this is what I want. You should do it. So in this way, this is how he told Yudhishthira Maharaj also. Yudhishthira Maharaj was told to tell a lie. He is Dharma, the son of Dharma, right? And he never told a lie in his life. And, his chariot was always floating. It never touched the ground because he's so lofty in his ideals. It never touched the ground. And then he was told to tell a lie. Krishna told, please tell a lie. Tell that Ashwatthama is killed in the battle. But actually Ashwatthama wasn't killed. So that Dronacharya will lose heart in fighting, because Dronacharya was fighting the battle in a very unscrupulous manner. He was using heavenly weapons on ordinary soldiers. And in this way, he was killing so many people and he couldn't be defeated. It was not possible to defeat him because he had a boon that so long as his weapons are raised, no one will be able to defeat him. He had that boon. So the only way that he will release his weapon, he will put down his weapon, is if he has heard a very unfavorable news from a reliable source. So if he heard that news, then he will lose heart and he will lower his weapon. At that time, he is vulnerable and he can be killed. So Krishna is telling Yudhishthira, he won't believe if other people tell this lie, because that's the point, right? From a reliable source. If I say, he won't believe, because Krishna sometimes breaks his promise to protect his devotee. So but if you say you are Yudhishthira Maharaj, he will believe. So he said, tell the lie, Ashwatthama is dead. But Yudhishthira Maharaj, he hesitated. He couldn't utter that lie. And because of that, Bhima, seeing this, understanding about his brother, he immediately took his mace, and there was an elephant nearby, enemy elephant, called also by the name of Ashwatthama, and he went and killed that elephant. And then he shouted loudly, Ashwatthama is dead, Ashwatthama is dead. But he's talking about Ashwatthama, the elephant. And then Yudhishthira, catching the cue, then he also said, yes, Ashwatthama, very loudly, the elephant, very softly, is dead. So he said it. He didn't lie technically. But at the same time, he didn't exactly follow Krishna's order. He hesitated. So because of that, the chariot that he was riding, which never touched the ground, it finally touched the ground. So some people say the sages were divided, at that time there were sages, so they divided themselves into two parties. And then one group of sages say, his chariot touched the ground because he lied. So therefore his chariot touched the ground. Then another group of sages will say, no, his chariot touched the ground the moment he hesitated following Krishna's order. That is when the chariot touched the ground. So this was a debate. So our philosophy is, yes, Dharma is not the ultimate. Dharma is just a set of rules created by Krishna. Ultimately, it is to serve Krishna. So therefore, whatever Krishna says, bhakti is beyond Dharma. Mundane morality is just to serve a purpose. But to serve a higher purpose, mundane morality can be abandoned. But it's not whimsically abandoned. One doesn't whimsically abandon it. It is abandoned only by the express instruction of Guru or the Supreme Lord. So just like Krishna himself is ordering, so therefore it was abandoned. So therefore, it's interesting. So therefore, whatever that Queen Draupadi was saying, Yudhishthira Maharaj So he learned his lesson already. He already learned his lesson before in the war. So now he definitely know, yes, this is what you're saying is dharma. So dharmya, he found her arguments as dharmic, right? He also found her arguments were nyayam. Yes, it is ingratitude if we were to show ingratitude to the Guru's family who did so much for us. The very fact that we were able to fight with weapons is due to the benefit of the Guru. So we should not kill the son of the Guru who is now bound and captured and defeated and make his mother cry constantly. So therefore it wasn't nyayam, it wasn't just. And it was equal, there was equality, samam. So in what the queen was saying, samam, because Draupadi was extending her empathy. So she was able to empathize with another mother, how the mother would feel if her son was killed. So Prabhupada describes a barren woman cannot understand the grief of a mother. So, but Draupadi could understand. So she was extending empathy. So this is all very important in judgment. It must not only be just, it must not only be strict to scripture, it should also be tempered with empathy. There should be, it's not just the letter of the law and just, it's not just that. It should be tempered with some empathy. And the Draupadi's arguments were glorious. Why glorious? Because she is willing to, she's not bothered about her own pain. The pain of Kripi would eclipse the pain of Draupadi. She's more concerned about others' pain. So this is very gloriously glorifying Draupadi. So Draupadi wanted to, this act that she was doing was selfless. She was completely discounting vengeance. And she was trying her best to show proper respect to a great family. So therefore it's glorious, Mahat. And it was also Sa Karunam. It was full of compassion and mercy. So compassion, this is very important, right? Compassion to Kripi, not for Ashwatthama, but for Kripi, the wife of Dronacharya. And finally, she was Nirvyalikam. Nirvyalikam means without duplicity. What she is doing genuinely, sincerely. It's not politically she has a different motive, like how Duryodhana would be doing, you know. He won't mean anything he's saying. He will say, yes, come, Krishna, come to my house. I will serve you nice prasadam. But actually, this is a trap. I'm waiting to catch you. I'm trying to trap you here. So that is duplicitous. So, but here she is not duplicitous. She's not doing this to attract name, fame, glory, nothing like that. She actually means it. So that is quality of a devotee. So Prabhupada says one should not tolerate the humiliation of a member of a great family. Arjuna and his family were indebted to the family of Dronacharya because of Arjuna's learning the military science from him. So then Sutta Goswami continues, Nakula and Sahadev and also the other brothers, Nakula and Sahadev also agreed with Yudhishthira Maharaj, also agreed with the ruling of Yudhishthira Maharaj. Satyaki, Dhananjaya is Arjuna. Dhananjaya means the winner of wealth. So Arjuna also agreed with it. Satyaki is a very close friend of Krishna. He is one of the family members of Krishna, Satyaki. He is one of the people who survived the battle of Kurukshetra. So he also agreed. So here we can see how the king is very instrumental in influencing the people. So a dharmic king, a leader who is just and dharmic is very, very important because they can influence the people around them. And it shows also the importance of good association. So they were all agreeing to Draupadi's statements, and the ladies and all the others also unanimously agreed with the king. So therefore, again, you see, the leaders are very important, because ladies and others, they have a tendency to follow authority. It is described, a good wife is, when there is a good husband, when there is a dharmic husband, the wife is also very dharmic. A chaste wife becomes also very dharmic, very glorious, because there is a tendency to follow. So in the same way, they also tend to follow good authority. If there's a good king, if there's a good leader, then the followers also become good, generally, if they are sincere lah. Of course, nowadays in Kali Yuga, it's all, everything's topsy-turvy, but still, the importance of a dharmic leader is stressed here in leading people towards the right conclusions. Because, majority always likes to follow. You can see how easy propaganda in the material world nowadays in Kali Yuga, you can see how propaganda is so powerful. Propaganda is, somebody says something, it keeps repeating that same thing, even though if it's a lie, eventually they will start believing, if they keep hearing it again and again and again and again. So that's the power of propaganda, and the politicians know this. So therefore they use propaganda, they control the news, they control many things to make you think badly about certain things. So the Western news portals, they like to use propaganda to attack Russia, and then the same way, so they like to, different ways they like to attack, to paint the negative picture. So people will read news and they say, yeah, these persons are so bad, but they don't know what's the real story behind. This is just one side of the news controlled by one set of people. So anyway, but there's a but. Bhima, there is one objection. Everybody agreed, but Bhima didn't agree. Bhima, however, angrily disagreed with them and recommended killing this culprit. So he was firm. No, this person had murdered sleeping children. Heinous activity. Now, if somebody does like this, we cannot let him go. What if he repeats the same problem? What if he does this to others? What if he repeats this? And later he will repeat also. So therefore, he had murdered sleeping children, such a heinous activity for him to do. For no purpose, simply for no purpose. He didn't please Duryodhana, there was no reason. And for neither his nor his master's interest. So therefore, he has committed such a heinous activity. So Bhima was angry and he said he should be killed. And then it's described, Krishna, the word used to describe Krishna is Chaturbuja. After hearing the words of Bhima, Draupadi and others, Chaturbuja saw the face of his dear friend Arjuna and he began to speak as if smiling. So this is the scene. This is the scene where Bhima is very upset, and Krishna is called by Chaturbuja because the Acharyas explain, seeing that Draupadi is trying to protect Ashwatthama and Bhima is trying to kill Ashwatthama. So Krishna used two arms to stop Draupadi, to hold Draupadi, and he manifested two more arms to hold Bhima. So therefore he is called Chaturbuja, four-armed. Chaturbuja means four-armed. So it's just a description of Krishna. So you can see here he has four arms. So then Prabhupada says, Sridhar Swami explains, he's one of the acharyas. Both Bhima and Draupadi held opposite views about killing Ashwatthama. Bhima wanted him to be immediately killed, whereas Draupadi wanted to save him. And in order to prevent both of them, the Lord discovered another two arms. So he manifested another two arms. So then, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, so Krishna says, a Brahma Bandhu is not to be killed. Yes, Draupadi, you're right. Yes, Yudhishthira Maharaj, you're right. Yes, all of you are right. One who is of a Brahmana, a relative of a Brahmana, even though he's no longer a Brahmana, is not to be killed because we have debt to that family of the Brahmana, right? So yes, he cannot be killed. But if he is an aggressor, he must be killed. But there is another law. The law is, if somebody is an aggressor, then he must be killed. why he must be killed is very important here. Not because of vengeance. So that is the point. It's not because of vengeance he must be killed, though the people who follow, they will see it that way. But actually he is killed for the benefit of society, number one, so that he doesn't do this to others. And number two, for his own benefit, because it's described that if he is not punished with death, then he is going to suffer terrible karmic reaction. And this karmic reaction is going to be very, very bad. It's going to bring him to different types of hell. But if he is killed, if he is punished sufficiently, then he does not go to hell. He is completely saved. And not only completely saved, it is seen as austerity, depending on his consciousness in the mood. He is seen as austerity, and he may even be elevated to the heavenly planets. So it is for his benefit that he has to be killed if he's an aggressor. So that is the spirit of the law. So Krishna is telling, if he's an aggressor, he must be killed. All these rulings are in scriptures, and you should act accordingly. He's now telling to Arjuna. So he's putting Arjuna into another test. So Prabhupada says, according to Manusmriti, an aggressor, even though he be a Brahmana, is to be killed. Dronacharya was certainly a Brahmana, but because he stood in the battlefield as a Kshatriya, then he was killed as a Kshatriya. But although Ashwatthama was an aggressor, right now he is standing without any fighting weapons. He is bound, helpless, in cold blood. So therefore, what to do? So that's the problem with the situation. So then Krishna is telling, you have to kill him, at the same time you cannot kill him. So what are you going to do? Act accordingly. So he's giving a hint to Arjuna. He's giving a hint to Arjuna of what to do. You have to fulfill your promise to your wife. You have made a promise, Arjuna, and it's very important you keep to your promise. Because Arjuna promised to kill Ashwatthama for doing this. He remember in the beginning of the chapter, he promised Draupadi that I will kill Ashwatthama. And so then you have to fulfill your promise to your wife. And you must also act to the satisfaction of Bhimasena and me. So Bhimasena also wanted him to be killed, and Bhima is elder to Arjuna. So remember, elders have to be respected. So therefore, you have to please Bhima. You cannot just not follow what he says. And you also have to please me. So the Acharyas explain, Krishna, he can tolerate any kind of pain or insult to his own self. People can say, oh Krishna, you're a liar, you're a thief, you're a debauchee, you're all kinds of things. He doesn't take offense. But if anybody offends his devotee, then Krishna cannot tolerate. This is the beautiful nature of Krishna. Krishna cannot tolerate if his devotee is attacked. That's why when Prahlad Maharaj was attacked, he was so angry. He came as Narsingadev. He was so angry. Even after killing Hiranyakashipu, his anger was still not sated. That, oh, my poor devotee, what he tried to do to him. So he was really in the mood. He was in the role of a very angry person. So the Lord is never satisfied, never tolerant of attacks to his devotee. That's why Vaishnava aparad is the number one aparad in the list of aparads. So he never tolerates. The example is given like this. The sun can be tolerated on the head, but the sun cannot be tolerated on the feet. You know, when we are walking on the road, the sun is very hot. It's blazing on our head, but we can tolerate it and we can still walk. But if we were to walk barefoot on the road, the sun blazing above, the road becomes hot. We cannot tolerate walking on a hot road, isn't it? So much more compared to the sun on the head. So therefore, the lotus feet of the Lord, he cannot tolerate the pain to his lotus feet. And the lotus feet is where all the devotees sit. So therefore, he immediately cannot tolerate. So he wants to kill Ashwatthama. Of course, Krishna knows best. So ultimately, it has to happen. So Krishna has a plan. So he's hinting to Arjuna. So you do what you think you should do. So he's giving a hint. Now Arjuna already knows, he has an inclination of what Krishna wants him to do, because previously he had been put in the same situation, and we will not talk about that. It's a long story also during the war. So he had an inclination of what to do. So immediately what he did, Sutta Uvacha, just then Arjuna could understand the motive of Hari by his equivocal orders. Kill, but don't kill. So what to do? So thus, with this sword, he severed both the hair and jewel from the head of Ashwatthama. Now, for a Brahmana or for a Kshatriya, especially for a Kshatriya, now Ashwatthama is behaving like a Kshatriya. At least he was trying to. So he already abandoned Brahminical nature. So for a Kshatriya, to capture him, to insult him, and to shave his head, half his hair, and to let him go, such a thing is or an insult. These kind of things are to him, to a Kshatriya, is like death. So a Kshatriya cannot tolerate insult. It's like killing a Kshatriya if you throw an insult, unless he can defend himself. So if here he is captured and then he is being subjected to such an insult, it is as good as killing him. So therefore, he shaved half his hair. It's like mutilating his hair. So this is like a great insult for him. And he also removed the jewel on his forehead. Now Ashwatthama was born with a jewel on his forehead. So it was a very special jewel. This jewel gave him the power to resist hunger, fatigue, thirst, disease, and also fear from weapons, robbers, rakshasas, nagas, or even devatas. So he had no fear of lower beings or higher beings, and he was never hungry, fatigued, or thirsty. So this was the nature of Ashwatthama. He had that special jewel on his head. So that jewel was removed and it was given to Krishna. So this and Krishna gave it to Yudhishthira Maharaj to wear it on his helmet. So that was a great insult. So in that way, Ashwatthama was killed, killed in that way. But yet he wasn't physically assaulted. Physically, he wasn't killed yet. So therefore, he could keep the injunction of killing and yet not killing. So he was very smart. Also, Ashwatthama, he is a Chiranjeevi. Chiranjeevi means he is immortal. So when he was born, he was given a benediction, because he is something like an incarnation of Rudra. So therefore, a partial incarnation of Rudra. So therefore, he was given the benediction that he cannot be killed. So therefore, you can't actually kill him directly anyway. So therefore, he's a Chiranjeevi. So there are Chiranjeevis. Chiranjeevis, they live as long as one day of Brahma. That is what Chiranjeevi is. So there are 9 Chiranjeevis based on scripture. They are still alive. So Ashwatthama is still alive. Hanuman is a Chiranjeevi. He's still alive. Who else? Vyasadev is a Chiranjeevi. He's still alive. Parashuram is also Chiranjeevi, still existing. And then Bali Maharaj, also Chiranjeevi, still existing. What else? Markandeya Rishi, Chiranjeevi. So like that, there are 9 Chiranjeevis altogether. They are all, they will live as long as a day of Brahma. So in this way, Ashwatthama was chastised. Ashwatthama had already lost his bodily luster, his prabham, because of Brahmahatya, for killing children. He already lost his, whatever little tejas that he had, he lost it due to Balahatya, killing children, infanticide. And now, moreover, having lost the jewel from his head, he lost whatever little power and tejas that he had. Completely gone. He's completely defeated already. And thus he was unbound and driven out of the camp. So this was to be the punishment of Ashwatthama. So his life was spared for the sake of his mother, and for the sake of his father, but he was punished severely for what he had done. So Sutta Goswami continues, cutting the hair from his head, depriving him of his wealth, and driving him from his residence are all prescribed punishments for the Brahma Bandhunam. So one who is not Brahmana, but related or trying to take up the position of a Brahmana, but not really Brahmana. So for such people who are pretenders of Brahmana, this kind of punishments is allowed, right? You can't kill them, but at the same time, you can banish them. You can excommunicate them. So this is allowed. So there is no injunction for killing the body, but you can banish them. So in this way, thereafter, the Pandavas and Krishna. So Krishna, the word Krishna means Draupadi. Krishna with a small a, Krishna, that is Krishna. But if it's a long a, Krishna, that is Draupadi. Because she looks very much similar to Krishna also a bit, because she is also dark complexioned, having the same kind of coloring as Krishna. And she is also very close relative to Krishna. So therefore, she's not relative, sorry, she's very dear to Krishna. Krishna and Draupadi are very, very close. So therefore, she is sometimes also called Krishna. So thereafter, Pandavas and Draupadi, overwhelmed with soka, with sadness, because what has happened? So much of deaths has happened. Finally, the war is over, and so many deaths, so many children died, right? All the children died. Only, in fact, there were no living heirs to the throne, the young children, only the Pandavas. So they performed the proper rituals for the dead bodies of their relatives. So chapter 7 ends this way, and then later we will in 2 weeks' time, we will move to chapter 8. So Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So if there are any questions or doubts or clarifications, we can address them. So next time when we go to chapter 8, we will see why this pastime was described. Because there is a reason why this pastime is described. It's leading up to the birth of Parikshit Maharaj. So this pastime will lead to another pastime, which will connect to Parikshit Maharaj's birth. So we will talk about that later. Okay, so any questions from anyone? Anything you'd like to raise or ask or clarify?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, I have a question.
Hare Krishna, Naveen Prabhu, yes.
Okay, Prabhu, about the punishment given to Ashwatthama, right? So, so you mentioned, right, as a devotee, we need to be, caring, understanding, and also be patient, and also be forgiving, right? These are the qualities of Vaishnava, right? But at the end of the day, from my understanding is that the curse that's being given to Ashwatthama is worse than death, right? He needs to wander around with hunger and pain, right? And he has to live until the end of Kali Yuga. So how to accept this from this point, Prabhu?
Well, the curse was given by Krishna. It wasn't given by the Pandavas. So as I mentioned earlier, Krishna doesn't tolerate Vaishnava aparadh. So this person killed the sons of Pandavas. Pandavas are who? Pandavas are liberated souls, very, very dear to Krishna. Just like how when Indra tried to kill the gopis, all the people in Vrindavan. So he didn't even look at Indra when Indra came to pray. So that's why Indra was so scared. Indra had to go behind. He went to call Surabhi and said, "You go in front. I will come behind you." And then he won't be upset at you. And then when he looks at you, I will offer my prayers and I will say sorry. So that is Krishna. Krishna is, he doesn't tolerate offenses or harm to his devotees, especially his pure devotees. So that's the reason. And anyway, what happened is Ashwatthama, his mischief doesn't stop after this. So we will hear in the next chapter later how Ashwatthama continued to do more mischief. So that was the last. He was given a chance, and he didn't take that chance seriously. So after that, only then Krishna cursed Ashwatthama. But it's all part of the grand plan anyway. So Ashwatthama eventually, the curse is part of his atonement. So he atones himself, and then at the end of Kali Yuga, when the new Satya Yuga comes, so he's atoned himself sufficiently enough that he's actually given the position of the next Vyasadev. So the next Vyasadev in the next Satya Yuga, in the next Yuga cycle is going to be Ashwatthama. He is going to be the one who is going to take up the position of Vyasadev. So it's all part of the plan anyway. But this is the logic behind it, lah. Okay, Prabhu, does that answer?
Thank you, Prabhu. Understand.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Any other questions? No? Okay. So if nothing else, then thank you so much for joining me in this session in the narration of Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much, Prabhu.
Panchakalpa
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Titanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.